I trusted my neighbors. I shouldn't have. My name is Margaret Cole. I am 72 years old. I live alone in a stucco ranch house in Glendale, Arizona. The house is paid off. My husband, Frank, handled that before he died 5 years ago. I have 2 children, but they live in Ohio and Seattle. They call on Sundays. I see them at Christmas. The rest of the time, it is just me, the house, and the heat. I worked for 38 years as the attendance secretary at Independence High School. I kept records. I noticed patterns. I do not miss much. For 15 years, the house next door was owned by a quiet couple named the Hardings. They kept their lawn neat. They waved. They moved to Tucson to be near their daughter. Last spring, a property management company rented the house to 2 young men. Kyle and Trevor, they were 26 and 24. They drove a white Ford F-150 that leaked oil on the pavement. They threw pool parties on Tuesdays. They were home all day, which I thought meant they worked nights. I was wrong about that too. I order things online. Not a lot, just necessities. Prescriptions from the pharmacy. A new timer for the sprinkler system. Books. On April 3rd, I ordered a new blood pressure monitor. The delivery confirmation said it was left on the front porch at 2:14 p.m. I was at the grocery store. When I returned at 3:30, the package was gone. I checked behind the pots. I checked the side gate. Sometimes the wind blows light boxes against the garage. It was not there. I knocked on the neighbors' doors across the street, then next door. No one had seen it. The Rodriguez family across the way suggested maybe it was delivered to the wrong house. I called Amazon. They sent a replacement. I did not think much of it. 2 weeks later, a box of garden soil vanished, then a ceramic planter, then my heart medication. That was when I started to pay attention. I bought a video doorbell, the cheap kind. I mounted it at eye level. For 3 days, nothing happened. On the 4th day, I reviewed the footage from my porch. At 11:47 a.m., a delivery driver dropped off a package containing a new coffee maker. At 12:15 p.m., Kyle from next door walked up my driveway. He did not knock. He looked at my front window, then picked up the box. He walked back to his house. He did not run. He walked, like he was taking out his own trash. I sat at my kitchen table and watched the clip 7 times. My hands were steady. I had spent 4 decades dealing with teenagers who forged excuse notes. This was not shocking. It was insulting. I called the police. An officer came the next morning. He was young, maybe 30. He watched the video on my tablet. He sighed. "Mrs. Cole, it's pretty clear-cut theft. But it's a misdemeanor, under $50 usually. The county is backed up. Unless this becomes a pattern of felony theft, or we catch them in the act with higher value items, it's going to be a low priority." "I have video," I said. "I know, and you should save it. But right now, with the staffing shortages, we're prioritizing violent crime." "I'm sorry, it's frustrating." He gave me a case number. He suggested I have packages delivered to a locker or a neighbor's house. He suggested I install a lockbox. He did not suggest he would arrest Kyle. I thought about confrontation. I imagined walking next door and saying, "I saw you take my coffee maker." But I have learned that when someone steals from you once, they have already decided who you are. You are not a person to them. You are an opportunity. If I confronted him, he would deny it. Or he would apologize and steal again later, more carefully. I needed to understand what I was dealing with. I started watching them, not in a dramatic way, just noticing. Kyle and Trevor received a lot of packages themselves. 5, 6 a day, big ones. They would carry them into the garage, never into the house. They never left for jobs. They drove to the post office twice a day. I looked up their names online. They had a YouTube channel, Thrift Kings. They bought liquidated merchandise and resold it. Or that was the cover. I began to document everything. I bought a composition notebook, the kind students use. I wrote down dates, times, descriptions, May 3rd, 9 a.m. Kyle takes package containing garden hose. May 7th, 2 p.m. Trevor checks my porch, finds nothing, leaves. May 12th, both men. Evening. Flashlights in my front yard. That last one bothered me. At 9:45 p.m., I had been reading in the living room with the blinds closed. I heard a rustling. I turned off my lamp and looked through the slats. Kyle and Trevor were standing by my porch. They were not taking anything. They were looking at my house. Kyle pointed at my bedroom window. Trevor nodded. Then they walked back home. My bedroom faces their house. It is on the side closest to their driveway. The window is high, but not that high. I keep the blinds closed at night, or I thought I did. The next morning, I checked the exterior of the house. I am 72, but I can climb a step stool. I checked the window frame. There was a small gap in the blinds I had not noticed. I got my ladder from the garage. I inspected the eaves. I looked under the porch light. I found the first camera on a Tuesday. It was tucked inside a fake rock in my garden bed, aimed at my front door. A wireless camera, about the size of a matchbox. Professional grade. Not something you buy at Walmart. It had a clear line of sight to my porch and a partial view of my living room window. I did not touch it. I went inside. I sat down. I drank a glass of water. My heart was beating hard, but my mind was quiet. They were not just stealing packages. They were watching. They wanted to know when I was home. When I left, when I went to bed, I got the ladder again. I checked the side of the house, the side facing their bedroom windows. I found the second camera in the branches of a Palo Verde tree. It was angled down, looking directly into my bedroom window. I stood in my yard for a long time. The sun was hot on my neck. I thought about my nightgowns. I thought about getting dressed. I thought about them sitting in their living room, looking at a screen, watching me sleep. I felt a cold anger, not hot. Cold. That evening, I closed all my blinds. I called a security company and scheduled an estimate for a full system. I did not mention the cameras I had found. I wanted them to believe I was clueless. I wanted them comfortable. I started wearing my robe when I got up at night. I started moving slower when I took out the trash. I leaned on a cane I did not need. I played the part of the confused, fragile widow who could not keep track of her deliveries. Meanwhile, I prepared. First, I bought a signal detector online. I swept the house. I found a third device in the vent of my bathroom. That one made me sick to my stomach. I left it there. I needed them to think they were winning. I contacted my nephew, David. He works in IT in Seattle. I told him I thought someone was accessing my Wi-Fi. I asked him to teach me about network security. Over the phone, he walked me through how to check connected devices. He explained how wireless cameras work, how they transmit, how they store data. He sent me a small device that detects RF signals. I used it to trace the camera's transmission paths. They were not storing the footage locally next door. They were streaming it to their phones, to a cloud account. I hired a handyman, someone from a town over, not local, to install real security cameras, but not where the fake rock was. I had him put them high, under the roofline, camouflaged. I had him install a lock on my bedroom window and a brace. I had him check the attic for listening devices. There were none. They were lazy. They thought 3 cameras were enough. I started a new notebook. This one was for evidence. I photographed the illegal cameras. I recorded their serial numbers. I researched Arizona law, ARS 13 to 3019. Voyeurism, ARS 13 to 1002. Theft, ARS 13 to 2915. Interception of private communications. I printed the statutes. I highlighted them. I went to the post office. I spoke to the postal inspector, a serious man in a suit. I told him I believed my mail was being stolen. I showed him my video of Kyle taking the package. He listened. He took notes. Mail theft is a federal crime. He asked if I had proof of other thefts. I gave him my notebook. He told me to keep him updated. I needed more. I needed them to take something big. I needed them to take the bait. I ordered a package, a large one. I had it sent overnight express. It was a box of heavy medical textbooks weighted with bricks. The return address was fake. The label said fragile, medical equipment. Value $2,400. I left it on my porch at 10 a.m. Then I went to my car, started it, and drove around the block. I parked 3 houses down, behind a work van, where I could see my front door. I waited. The heat shimmered off the asphalt. I drank water from a thermos. At 10:47, Kyle came out. He looked up and down the street. He walked to my porch. He picked up the box. It was heavy. He grunted. He carried it back to his house. He did not look around. He thought I was at the doctor. He had watched me leave. I had him on camera. HD camera, the new one, clear as day. Theft of property over $1,000. That is a Class 6 felony in Arizona. But I did not stop there. I went home. I retrieved the box from my trunk, the real one, empty, with a GPS tracker inside. I had never left it on the porch. I had left a decoy. The decoy had a glitter bomb rigged to a fishing line, but I deactivated that. I did not want vandalism charges. I wanted them to have the box. Inside the decoy, under the bricks, was a note. You are being recorded. Return all stolen property or face prosecution. I knew he would not return it. I knew he would open it. I knew he would panic. That night, I performed for their cameras. I stood in my kitchen, visible through the window, and talked on the phone to my daughter. I spoke loudly. I said, yes, the police have the video. Yes, they know about the cameras. No, I'm not scared. I'm moving to a hotel tomorrow while they make the arrest. The detective said they'll raid the house on Thursday. I hung up. I turned off the lights. I went to my bedroom. Through the gap in the blinds they thought was secret. I watched their house. Within an hour, Kyle and Trevor were loading boxes into their truck. They were moving their operation. They were destroying evidence. What they did not know was that the postal inspector was parked at the corner, watching them load stolen mail into the truck. I had called him that afternoon. I had told him to watch the house on Wednesday night. I told them they would run. They were arrested at 1 a.m. at a storage facility in Peoria. They had $12,000 in stolen merchandise. They had the cameras. They had footage on their laptops. Footage of me. Footage of other neighbors. They had been running a theft ring across 3 subdivisions, using cameras to time deliveries and absences. The detective, the young one who had told me it was a misdemeanor, came to my house the next day. He looked tired. He looked at my new security system. He looked at the composition notebook on my coffee table, filled with dates and times. You set them up, he said. It was not an accusation. It was a statement. I documented criminal activity, I said. I provided evidence of federal mail theft and felony larceny. I did not touch them. I did not threaten them. I simply made it clear that continuing to victimize me would be unprofitable. You played them, he said. I survived, I corrected. Kyle and Trevor pleaded guilty. The voyeurism charges were added later when the prosecutors saw the bedroom camera footage. They received 3 years each. The property management company evicted them immediately and had to pay a settlement to all the neighbors involved for negligent screening. I donated my portion to the local senior center. I still live in the house. The hibiscus is blooming. The new neighbors are a young family with a baby. They wave. They do not steal. I check my porch every morning, not because I am paranoid, because I am aware. I am not helpless. I am not invisible. I am old, yes, but I am not stupid. Trust is earned. When someone shows you they are a predator, believe them, but do not be prey. Be the thing they did not expect. Be patient, be thorough, be gone when the trouble starts. I sleep well at night. The blinds are closed. The doors are locked. And if anyone is watching, they see a 72-year-old woman reading a book, unafraid, in her own home, where she belongs.